Hey Wargamers, today I want to talk about a game called Omicron Protocols. It is a cyberpunk miniatures skirmish game that's sort of a midpoint between a full miniature skirmish game, like where there's absolutely, total freedom, that kind of thing, and a board game that uses like spaces and stuff like that. It creates a exciting cyberpunk dystopia where a city in California is basically taken over by an AI, and its populace, anyone who is plugged in, is hijacked. You play a group of survivors that is trying to escape or like destroy this AI, and you have to contend not only with the other warbands around you but also the civilians that have been taken over. What makes Omicron Protocol awesome is that it can be played, two-player, you and a friend. It can be played solo or cooperatively. You can tell long-form stories with it, and if you're looking for like video game vibes to kind of associate with this, think XCOM, Perfect Dark, and maybe like the final villain from Mass Effect who can kind of hop bodies. And so in this video, we're going to go to the downward cam. I'm going to unbox a whole bunch of goodies that Dead Alive Games, the ones who make this game, sent to me because I was so excited to meet them at Adepticon. I love any kind of game that has all different kinds of game modes. Again, solo, cooperative, head-to-head, there's a competitive format, there's whatever you want. I love that kind of stuff when it's built into the foundations of the system. In addition, there's just some really fun sci-fi elements that I enjoy. So we're gonna be going through all of the goodies they sent me. I'm gonna be showing off the miniatures, what comes in the game, and throughout it all, just kind of explaining how it kind of functions. Not so much as tutorial, but like how expansions work, how enjoyable the gameplay is, that kind of thing, what the factions are. So without further ado, let's jump right in. If you are interested in this game, by the way, I do have a link to save you some coin in the description down below. Please support me by supporting them. Now, I first encountered this game at Adepticon 2023, and I was really taken aback because as I was going through the vendor hall, like I set apart 2 days just to like meet folks and check out different games and different design ideas. And as I was walking past, the Dead Alive booth really stuck out to me simply because, one, the artwork was my kind of art. I love this stuff. It's very evocative of like cyberpunk futures and all kinds of crazy things. But also the folks behind the counter, they had a whole lot of enthusiasm for their product, which, you might roll your eyes and be like, why? But I definitely met some low energy, we'll say, game demo givers at Adepticon. So when someone is super excited about the depth and also the accessibility of their game, that stands out to me. One thing I wanted to point out right before I took the wrap off here is they are the Origin Award nominee and Gen Con 2022 Gaming Trend Award recipient. I didn't even know those were things. I've never been to Gen Con, and Origins I don't know a ton about, but that's cool. So opening this sucker up, we have our game board. I'm going to cover this later because I have a neoprene version. We'll do the measurements from that, but this is a super high graphic image. It's basically an aerial shot of like a downtown in ruins in sort of a cyberpunk future. Tokens for days, of course. Tokens. We got those for all your different status effects. You can basically have abilities that increase things like your luck, that will operate like focus and war machine. Obviously status conditions being like, detected, set on fire, that kind of stuff. We have here, what are you? I believe these are like mines, if I'm not mistaken. Meant to be somewhat kind of transparent, hard to see into the grass. Here is a whole bunch of things. Now, immediately you might look at this and be like, oh, there's no miniatures. No, there's a ton of miniatures. What these are meant to represent are a few things. The ones in beige with the kind of more tan or yellow background, a lot of times the enemies that you're playing against will have like recursion, so they'll just keep growing and growing. You can add a bunch of miniatures to those. You get your 2 warbands, which we'll cover, but this is like, if you're adding a gratuitous amount of dudes, this is your just overflow, all kinds of stuff. So don't see that and think that there's absolutely no models or whatever. Also some cool terrain bits and stuff like that. Even if you don't like these, you can use them as a stencil to create your own, and I am probably going to do that for a tutorial video. Now I'm actually going to breeze past the models because I have a camera set up that we're going to take much better pictures than just trying to zoom in here. We have all of our plastic standees for everything. Here's a 3-dimensional one of those mine looking things. Now this is a small thing, but I actually really do like when, this is why I say it's a good blend of board game and miniatures game. I adore this kind of stuff when the table of contents actually comes with a step-by-step. This is what we're talking about when we mention X, so you can know what all your parts are. Below that, you got your quick start guide. This goes through just basics of how to attack. There's the full how to play, and then there's a booklet for solo and cooperative rules, because I want to make that very clear. This is a game that can be played by yourself or with others. You also have your your rules reference and scenario cards. Here's all the cards where you keep your information about your various characters, and it includes 2 dry erase markers as those stats are modified throughout the game. You keep track of them. So that's what the game is, okay? Like in terms of what you get for it, but what is Omicron Protocols as a game system? Well, here's the thing. I was going to do a step-by-step tutorial. Actually, another channel did a fantastic one that I want to link to, so I want to give you much more of an overview, but go check out that video in the link down below. Imagine a far future, kind of a cyberpunk setting. There's a city in California called San Lazaro. Now, the thing about this city, it is almost exclusively controlled, at least on the civic side, by an artificial intelligence that does the day-to-day task. In fact, in this future, people are often plugged into the interweb via, cybernetic enhancements, augmentations, and so on. Well, to greatly oversimplify the story, I will be doing detailed lore videos later, but to simplify it for now, essentially a computer virus was just bombed in San Lazaro. The AI went corrupt and it began basically communicating and hacking into the citizenry of that area. Now, they were able to basically lock most of the servers and keep it somewhat contained to the San Lazaro area, but a few things happened. One, complete destruction of civil order, because now some of these civilians were fighting against the police and fighting against things. They're all under the control of an artificial intelligence. Those city leaders who are still alive basically called for a mass evacuation. And this all happened in roughly a month. When you and I play Omicron Protocols, we take the role of different kinds of war bands that have all different missions within the San Lazaro area. Some of them are trying to raid supplies because they had already given up on society, think like survivalists living in the California woods. Others are bands of people that just couldn't quite escape, or brave heroes who wanted to go back and look for more people. Others are trying to actively fight the AI by targeting, server rooms, that kind of thing, wherever this hacking software can exist. But while there are a ton of different factions that all have motivations in this game, the truth is all of them are trying to survive. Not just the environment, not just the AI, but the civilians who have been taken over almost like zombies. So while we got some pictures of the miniatures here on the screen, let's walk through them. First pick here is going to be of all these beige characters. These match the art tokens that we saw. You get 4 of each sculpt. I just picked one of them, each of them just to kind of show you the different poses, but you do get a ton. And like I said, you can generate even more of these things if your mission gets utterly and completely insane. So that's why you have the standees or whatever, but these will work for you. The detail on them is fantastic. You can easily base them, like there's no overhang on the edges or anything like that. If you're somebody who is into board gaming and you have no interest in painting miniatures, they look great. They just do. These are awesome game pieces, highly detailed. If you're like me and you want to paint them, the things that I am looking for, they're all here. The different kinds of poses, they have different kinds of fabric that they're wearing, so it gives me different opportunities to spice up the color palette. They're even wearing different kinds of clothes, like one lady's swinging a purse with a skirt, another guy's wearing jeans and sort of like a survivalist jacket, one's in sort of, looks kind of like a monk robe type thing like she's doing karate. Like there's all kinds of different fabrics, materials, color palettes that I can pull from. But remember, these are the AI, so they're going to spawn and die quickly. Now the next group are the survivalists, and there's a little lore blurb on the back of the instruction manual that I want to read for you. I'm going to do, like I said, a more detailed video later. But the survivalists are a group consisting mainly of society's misfits, those who either could not or would not be a part of the establishment. This faction believes in helping one another and those in need, as well as preparing for any further disasters that may befall the city. Gadget's Auto Shop serves as the group's headquarters. Here, they hang out and meet to discuss important issues ranging from how to aid the homeless to what new tools and techniques they can devise to survive the hell of San Lazaro. Most of the group members are either too poor or too distrustful to have any cybernetic implants installed, making them even more alienated from a society that has become obsessed with cyber technology. And we can see that here sort of in a lot of the equipment they're using. One guy just has a lead pipe, which is just like, I'm gonna go fight artificial intelligence in this far dystopian future with a lead pipe, good luck. We have 2 bow wielders, an assassin, and a rich man who's hucking a Molotov cocktail, which is just awesome. The next group are called the Peacemakers. When the police and military were ordered to evacuate San Lazaro, some disobeyed. Either they couldn't abandon the citizens, needed to figure out what was going on, or stayed for personal reasons. These courageous individuals banded together and set up base in a downtown police station under the unofficial leadership of Buck McDonald. Commanding this desperate but committed group Buck tries to keep the peace and help people where he can. Some are working around the clock investigating the viral outbreak and the media blackout. Though Buck appreciates all their contributions, there are a few whose true motivations remain a mystery. And so this is where we get people who are a little bit more equipped, rather, I should say, for the apocalypse. Folks who are first responders, intellectuals who are trying to do some form of research, but also just people who are, you know, rugged fighter types that may or may not be the survivalist out in the woods, but they understand the urban environment and just want answers. Now, as far as the gaming board goes, you are essentially fighting over the downtown, I guess, destroyed area of San Lazaro. It's like a really cool intersection of a car being all burned out. There's some bicycles, that kind of stuff. It's a really cool looking urban map. And this is the game board that comes with you. However, I asked them, just for photos' sake, for the photos I'm going to take later on for a project, and that is the neoprene mat that comes with the set, or rather is optional buy for the set. And to give you a few ideas, here's the dimensions of this sucker. It's printed in high detail, and it looks really snazzy. So that's the core game. You're trying to survive AI-controlled civilians while harvesting resources and achieving your personal objectives for your faction. What were the expansions I mentioned? Well, this is when we get into the crazy art that actually drew me to the game. I'm gonna hold this up. If you can see there, that is a cybernetic, ganger trying to fight a robot bear, and there's an elephant in the background. It's utter insanity. Let's talk about this. This is the Up to No Good faction expansion, and essentially it provides two entire new armies to the game, the animals and the red dragons, which we'll talk about here in a second, and also comes with a whole bunch of scenario cards, faction abilities, that kind of stuff. Basically, everything you need to play these guys in the game. Again, it's two armies being added in, and then also a few scenarios to add some flavor and that kind of thing. Now, that's a big expansion where it comes with two complete armies. They also have a couple of these little one-offs where they are single character expansions. Essentially, think of these as like mercenaries. You can sub one of these out for one of your characters in your normal warband. So for example, this one, G, it is a Komodo dragon. It can fight either with the animals or the red dragon gang that came in that big box that I just had on my lap. Whereas this one, the ranger, can be put into either of the factions you get from the core set. And it's cool. It's like a little park ranger, and she's wielding a crossbow, so it's kind of cool. Little middleman between the outcasts and the civilians who are survivalists and the ones who are like armed police guards, that kind of thing. And reading the lore for these two factions, we show them off. The animals. As a faction, all the animals have been mysteriously, quote-unquote, enlightened. Their intelligence has been boosted by many levels, as they now learn to cope with their newfound intelligence and awareness of the world, as well as communicating with different species via limited telepathy. Many of the enlightened animals have banded together to protect themselves and learn what's been going wrong with the world. Essentially, the AI that has hijacked things was put into these animals to monitor their health and that kind of stuff, and then when it flipped, it gave them far more intelligence than they were supposed to have. But they don't respond to commands the same way, in particular, that human civilians do, which is why they're not the same thing as other factions. Now, next up are the Red Dragons. The Red Dragons are San Lazaro's most powerful street gang. Originally a Chinese triad, it has recently opened up its ranks to people of all backgrounds under the leadership of the ambitious and ruthless Lady Rose. The top lieutenants consist mostly of women who helped Lady Rose ascend to her place of power. This faction is out for survival and profit by whatever means necessary. Essentially saying, all the other guys are a bit altruistic. Right now, there's chaos, and in chaos, there could be profits. So those are the miniatures. Honestly, pretty good in terms of detail. There are some mold lines that need to be cleaned up, but as far as how models have been sent to me, like in terms of the packaging and how well the plastic kind of like helps support some of those longer edges, like the spear on the horse rider, I have to say there was no real bending to mine. The sniper rifle on one character was a little bit flaccid, but after like 2 seconds in warm water, I haven't had a problem with it since. I say that as a testament to both the quality of the plastic and the support that they were all given. I was really worried when I saw the bow, but no, they came out straight as an arrow. But seriously, that photo of Lady Jade punching the bear in the chest, I was walking through Adepticon, I was like, I want to know what that is about. And there's not really too much these smaller ones. It's just a model in their like data cards or whatever. But I will say, I actually really like the design idea here. And that is, whenever like Games Workshop or something comes out with with a new army. You have to buy a ton of stuff up front. Okay, if you already own this, you get 2 armies in 1 expansion box, and if you were to buy that expansion box and this guy, you now have, you know, completely customizable forces for 2 purchases on a game that you already had. I like that. Those are great because consider it this way: if you're a family member or something like that, this is a stocking stuffer. Isn't that nice? It's really hard to find a stocking stuffer for Games Workshop when you can't breathe in the store without spending 50 bucks. Plus, it's like a little Komodo dragon. Look at it. He's so cute. But I am excited to get some paint on these models and start doing either some limited battle reports or at least just some great visuals to show you how great this game can look. Like I said, there is a great, I keep saying great, I'm sorry. There's a wonderful tutorial video online that I will link to in the description down below so you can get a sense of its gameplay. But really what it is, it's a lot of asymmetrical objectives, a lot of people fighting over resources, and trying to mitigate how you fight the opponent versus the enemy AI as it's coming at you. This was simply an introduction video, so look forward to a dedicated lore video, as well as some gameplay elements and highlights and stuff like that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.